Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another episode of Married to Shade. I'm your host, Fiq Blurman, and with me as always is my lovely wife.
Hey, y'all.
And we are the only black couple with a podcast with advanced degrees and remedial money. And we are brought to you on behalf of the Black Astronauts Podcast Network. The Black Astronauts Podcast Network is a network of podcasts that provides a variety of shows to its fans and supporters that covers a little bit of everything from nerd and gaming news to politics to general interest to hot topics to whatever you want to talk about. Usually we're going to touch on it. And we are able to do that because of the support from our Patreon patrons. Our Patreon patrons pay at three different levels, the $10, the $5, and the $3 level. The $10 level gets a multitude of benefits, including access to the archives of the show that go back now about 5 to 6 years. The same goes for the $5 level. $3 level, you just get to support the show, and we appreciate it regardless. But we show a little extra love to our $10 and $5 people, and thus we call them out and shout them out on the show every time before we get started. So, quick shout out to the following: Peter H., Marshall L., Deloya, the Disrespectful One MJ, Shadrack C., Blackishawn, Nutella is Life, Sadita H., Ron B., Veggie Vixen, Teddy Funk, Pasto Chene, Felt 5, Mr. Glade, Keith Andrews, Slonda W., Wanga, Cameron B., Simo, Mark Ass Nigga, Ashley G., Chonilla, Knowledge, Dre, Donald, Ophelia Ono, Charlie Snowflake, Angela D., Beverly S., Jordan M., Jordan H., Tamika M., for wash folks who take naps before the club and never show up, DJ Food and Drink, Ariana, Just DeAndre, Devo G., Scrum Master Flash, Nikki M., Ophelia Cox, and Shauna E. Thank you all so much for your persistent support. And with that, we're going to start the show by me hesitantly asking,
nervous?
yes, how my wife's day was. Baby, how was your day?
Well, it was a roller coaster.
It was a roller coaster.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster, filled with a lot of twists and turns. Started out pretty good. Had an afternoon meeting full of microaggressions. A former business associate, randomly and talking about her kids to me, told me how she and her husband would be okay if their son brought home a black girl.
Yep. Isn't that awesome of them? I bet you they'd have voted for Obama a third time if they had the chance.
I'm sure they would have. So you guys can, just guess how fun that conversation was. I mean, I could go on and on with all the problematic things she said. And then there was taking our youngest son to swim practice. Think we're doing a good thing as parents, but he's not feeling it. He is so afraid of the water. Don't know why. The only thing I can think of as justification for his fear is the fact that if you listen to some shows, I think you have to go back at least a year ago.
Probably did. This time last year when we almost lost the game by losing our children.
We went on a boating excursion, took our infant or toddler on a speedboat. If you've been on a speedboat, if you've seen a speedboat, you understand that was not a good parenting decision. And I believe we've scarred our child, but that's that. And then lastly, save the best for last. I'm conflicted, y'all. I really need to be checked. I need to be checked because I want to be the best person I can be.
No, you don't.
And no, I do. I do. And so I'm open for constructive criticism. Mm-hmm. So I have a friend. I'm throwing up air quotes, right? So I have a friend whose business I have patronized and life I have supported for some years. Meaning, and when I say supported, meaning just encouraged. If there was an opportunity to give, I've given it. And, we don't talk all the time. We're not the closest. That's why I put the air quotes on the friends. But we're close enough. And I've always, I think, been a positive force. Always encouraged. And likewise, she has. Except I haven't required as much. Mm-hmm. And this friend usually provides or does our family photography. And I just reached out to her to book it as normal, and her prices have tripled. Now, I think that's awesome that her business has grown, because my thought is, if your prices have increased in such a short time period, it's because of some it's because of an increase in demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The demand says, okay, I can charge more for my time, all those things. I want that for her.
Right.
I just don't want those prices for myself. And so I'm conflicted because I feel some kind of way. Not about her business growing, not about her living her best life, all of which I'm not sure is happening, but I'm going to assume and I'm excited about. But I am like, girl, I paid a third of this last year. How did we get here? How did we get here? That's all I want to know. How did we get here? And so if I'm wrong for feeling that way and not just being like, great, friend, I'll pay it, let me know, because, I'm open for constructive criticism. I'm not going to pay the price, but I will hear the pushback on me and my character and how I feel about it. So there's my day.
So that's much better than you did before we started this show.
Well, that's what I want to know. I don't think it's bad.
In that regard, so I understand. So there's two things to think about here, babe. Number one, you may not know this as a business owner because you don't offer something that is going to be often asked to be a hookup situation. Like there's not very much hookup business, consulting. Probably there is. Hell, you hooked up.
I think it is.
Your first customer was completely for free.
Yeah, I hook up people all the time.
But
consulting is just giving advice, and every time I give advice, I don't pay. But I'm not the hookup friend. I don't ask for the hookup. I pay your rate. Your rate just has to make sense to me.
So, all I'm saying is, it was when we first started with this photographer, who I hope doesn't listen to this show.
Shout out to you, girl.
We got a very good product for relatively cheap.
Agreed.
Great product.
Agreed.
And I feel like on some level, we helped establish a business, a format for her.
I agree.
With our pictures.
I agree. We've recommended customers.
Right. And
like, it's not like I assume people are using her because I said it. Like, I know people have used her as a result of our recommendation.
Right. And so the reality is that, it's all business now. And so I don't know enough about photography to judge whether or not the price is unreasonable. I just know we can't pay it.
Well, that's true.
Then we should just leave it at that, because at some point in time, business trumps personal, and we have to be okay with that. You can't take it personal.
I am
taking it personal. You are
so at peace with not paying her a dime.
See,
that's not personal. No, I'm not taking it personal.
It's so unnecessary.
I'm at peace.
Vitriol and anger here.
Do I sound angry?
Yes.
I don't think I sound angry because I'm not angry. I would be angry if I would have spent my money on something that I didn't appreciate. Now, she is amazingly talented. Let me say that in case she's listening. If she hadn't tuned out at this point, I want her business to grow. I know now that she has priced us out, and that's fine. I just am going to be honest. I don't understand the price elevation. But because I can't afford it, she don't have to explain it to me.
You taking it personal, and because you taking it personal,
I'm not taking it personal.
You taking shots, and I just don't get it.
Did I take shots?
This is the bad part about you.
Did I take
shots? These are the things I don't even want to expose to the rest of the world. I was ready to take
all this
nastiness to my grave about you.
But see, I think so. So let's move this conversation forward.
Can you ask me about my day? How about that?
I have to, right?
You do.
How was your day?
My day was pretty good. I had a very validating and affirming day of work, which is something I'm still getting used to. I had a rough patch the last couple of weeks in doing something I really wasn't interested in doing, but I got it done, and I got it done to a pretty high quality level, which had garnered me a little bit of praise and some new opportunities today. I'm happy about that. We'll pivot a little bit and talk about coming off a DragonCon weekend, where I sat with some of my brothers, some friends, and we just fought for like 4 hours in the backyard like niggas. But unlike, so why you pointing at you like that's what I'm doing? No, it's not. It's not.
Well, it's what I'm doing is better because I don't fight.
Because you're not expecting her to hear what you have
to say. I don't fight. No. I'm totally at peace if she hears it because I'm not trying to take away from her talent. I wouldn't dare tell someone not to support her because I think if you have like a really special occasion, and so maybe that's the disconnect. Mm-hmm. We take pictures annually, and I don't even really print them, y'all. And you can judge me for this. It's really just for the memory. Mm-hmm. Like I may share a few to Facebook, so Facebook will help me recall them. They're on a Dropbox, but they're not like, I mean, I think you can only do so much decorating with pictures of yourself and your kids before it kind of gets like cringy.
Right.
So, we have a few family photos around, but I don't think they're more than like the average family would have, even though we probably take more than the average amount of photos. So I think maybe, in fairness to her, if us taking photos was like a more special occasion, mm-hmm. like if this was, like if these were pregnancy photos that I was trying to take, or I don't know, wedding photos, if there was something more to it other than me just wanting to capture my kids at this age, I think the price wouldn't be as off-putting. I'm going to throw her a bone and say that she's maybe catering to special occasions and really doesn't do our stuff anymore. And maybe that's how it should have been presented to me because I just think this is just off. But let me talk about you and your friends real quick.
Oh, Lord.
Let me talk about you and your friends. So this is what I don't understand. So there are people I know, and I just gave you an example, where sometimes they do things and I don't agree with them or I don't understand them. And I may or may not express that to them depending on how I think it'll be received. So if I have constructive criticism of someone and I think it'll be well received, and I really think they can grow from it, like I've gotten the languaging right, I may bring it to them. If I don't think they can grow from it, maybe I'm too much in my feelings to have the languaging right, I won't bring it to them. But what I don't know how to do, and this is no judgment, this is no shade, I just don't know how to do it, is maintain relationships with people when we're clearly on opposite sides of the spectrum. So either I tell you and I move on, or I don't tell you and I move on. I don't know how to do like I'm over here, you're over here, but we're still friends. But I think that is a shortcoming in me. And we talked about that.
Yes.
And so, like, I don't know.
It's because
explain that to me.
You an angry ass nigga, and you got a lot of petty and salt and shade in your heart, and so you know what the real thing is? You hate being wrong, and you hate apologizing.
No.
So that's pretty much what it is. And you hate you don't hate people thinking you're wrong per se.
I don't
like
mind
you don't hate
being
people disagreeing
wrong.
with you. No. When it comes to like real stuff or stuff that you take personally, you are slow to apologize. You're slow to be wrong. And if you feel like there's the inkling of a possibility that the other person may even just have a point, it's just as easy for you to take the nuclear option.
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I feel like if I thought it was the case, I still say I don't think it's the case. It's one of those things that like, I don't think anybody runs toward that kind of criticism. But I will say like, I don't think that's the case. I don't mind being wrong. Mm-hmm. If like you can clearly explain to me how I'm wrong. I'm wrong so many times. Like you can't be an entrepreneur and take the risk I take in life without being wrong a hell of a lot of times. So I'm not afraid of being wrong.
So I think you're mixing
up
being wrong with making a mistake.
Aren't they the same?
No. See, making a mistake
isn't it a mistake to be wrong? Nobody intentionally wants to be wrong.
No. It's not a mistake to be. So making a mistake is, I forgot your birthday. Oh, I forgot to call her, and I know that her mama is sick, or So
some people would say you're wrong for that.
Yeah, they might say you're wrong for that. In that situation, you'd be like, "Yeah, girl, I know. I'm sorry. That's you."
Mm-hmm.
But you might also be like, "I don't want to call her because her mom is sick. I just don't feel like it."
No, that's not.
And if somebody comes to you and says that's wrong of you, you'd be like, "Well, then we don't got to be friends no more."
No, that's not true. That's not true, especially when somebody's mama is sick.
Well, that might be a drastic. That's not
example, true.
But that's kind of the difference between them. Like you. So here's what happened with me and my friends this other night. We both recognized we were being bad friends in some form or fashion to each other. We fought about it for hours. There was some tears shed. There was a lot of raised voices. Then we hugged, and we both kind of recognized certain things, and we moved on. So that recognition of like being bad at the key thing, is kind of where you fall. So being wrong may be the thing I should be talking about, but the hard part of maintaining friendship and relationships is the part you tend to avoid. And that's because it requires discomfort and gray areas and sacrifice. And sometimes like heartfelt, sincere apologies for ways in which you may have grievously hurt a person.
I've apologized to people with the intent of discontinuing the friendship.
But that
meaning
that makes the apology hollow.
No. I don't mind apologizing. Like there have been people that like we've had a relationship or a friendship on some level, and it's went south, and I proactively will say, hey, like, my attitude may have not been right, or I am sorry for offending you, or possibly offending you, or just for the fact that things went south.
No.
I have done all of that, but then I still don't have the expectation.
In the case you're alluding to, you weren't wrong about anything for real, though. That's the difference. You have to legit be wrong about the thing you're apologizing for it to mean something. That was a hollow apology. That was you trying to appease a person that you clearly were better than under the circumstances because they were being petty.
I don't like that. I don't want to say I'm better than anybody.
Well, I mean, under the circumstances,
but we
not better,
definitely
but
had
like
a difference of perspective.
You had the high
on a
road
number of
in the
things.
situation. You had done nothing wrong. They were petty and in their feelings about God knows what. To this point, we still don't know. And you tried to acquiesce to appease them and maintain the friendship. And when that was clearly not going to work, you're like, all right, deuces, which that makes perfect sense. But I've seen you over the years, shy away from friendships because it was clear you were going to have to start putting in real work to maintain it. And you were more comfortable just kind of keeping your lone wolf status.
Well, that's so I won't disagree with that. I don't think I'm unique.
No, you're not.
Like,
you're not unique.
I don't think I'm unique. I think a lot of people maybe listening to this will understand that, I'm not a high. Okay, so we know I have anxiety. If you didn't know it, listen to the other shows, please. Thank you. And so like I don't require a lot of interactions and a lot of bonding time and or experiences to be committed to a relationship, a friendship. Mm-hmm. Like I can meet you, I can be like, I really like her, or I really like him, but most times, meeting other women. So it's like, I really like her. And if she really likes me and we vibe at the moment we met, like, I'm good with that. And if we don't meet again till, if we don't see each other except for like once a year, I will evolve to call that person a friend because that's as much interaction as I need. And if that person were to need me, if there's a way I can support them, I would always make myself available because that's just kind of how I roll. What has happened to me over the years, or what I've attracted, I don't know, I don't want to act like, I guess it's not a victim thing, but is sometimes wonderful people who just require more than I am capable of giving. I don't talk on the phone a lot with non-family. Never have, never will. I don't like getting dressed up and going out a lot. There was a period of time I liked that. It was pre-baby weight, budgeting and all that kind of stuff. But in this phase of my life, I'm pretty cool chilling at home with my family and my husband and doing the same thing on Saturdays and Sundays. So what you see is me meeting very dynamic, wonderful people who I can say nothing negative about, but whose idea of friendship looks different from mine. So when the demand of me increases, like it's like, oh, come to this, oh, do this, oh, be here, and I know I'm just not wired that way, I'm like, yeah, she's great, I'm just gonna fall back.
In a nicer way, you're saying exactly what I just said, which is when it comes to the hard part of friendship, you're like, what's the phrase? I'm good, sweetie, be blessed. Is that how it goes? It's some phrase I've heard.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's not the hard part of friendship for everybody. It's the hard part for you, and it's a requirement for a lot of people, especially women, especially black women. Black women's partnerships and friendships are a unique organism, and it requires a lot, and they can be precarious. They can be full of dangers and pitfalls. So I understand having the sentiment of being like, you know what, I'm gonna keep a good safe distance at all times, because the things I've seen and heard and witnessed between lady friends, I get it.
Well, no, I've seen some beautiful friendships between women,
but I've also seen
some
the
worthy
opposite.
of envy, of course. But I mean,
but to get to that status, you have to go through some things.
I agree.
And if you're not willing to go through those things, if you need to be able to drop a bitch when at the drop of a dime,
I don't need to be able to drop you.
You kind of need to be able to drop a bitch. You need to be comfortable dropping a bitch, or she can't really be your friend.
I met two women who, to me, have like a beautiful friendship. They've had this friendship for years, but it seems like as they've gotten older, priorities have changed, and so just life demands have increased, and so they don't see each other that much. And they used to fall off the map with each other, right? But these were like childhood best friends, people who met each other in a phase of life where everybody just kind of wants to like latch on and be together forever, right? And so when their ability to spend quality time with each other waned, like they would, without communicating, get mad at each other, right? And question their friendship. And eventually they had a conversation, and they were, I forget the phrase, but basically they agreed to let each other know when they were tapping out and needed space, right? And it didn't have to do with any like disagreement between them. It's just as they've gotten older, they've kind of reached a point where I am, where they have like husbands and children and careers, and it just is not possible to pencil each other in the same way. But because they value the friendship, they will give each other a call and say, girl, I'm tapping out for a second. I need a break. And they understand, the other understands, okay, I may not hear from her for a month or two or several weeks, but we're still best friends.
But I guarantee that you like that. But they didn't come together, have tea a couple times, and then make that decision. I guarantee those friends, childhood friends, have had a multitude of deep, meaningful events between them that have made that type of bond possible. And that's all I'm saying, babe. I don't want you to change for anybody.
Thank you.
Especially you're 30.
3
years old. You're born on February 5th, 2085.
That's not my birthday. My husband doesn't know my birthday. That's another show, guys. That's another show.
But you know, I forgot my train of thought after that show.
He's thinking about how you didn't know my birthday, but
but you know, what I'm saying, so like, I don't begrudge you for this. This is just this is the thing for you. Like, we all have our things. You struggle with emotional attachment and entanglement. That's just a reality. You don't like the raw feelings, and so you avoid them as possible. You've made the joke of how, like, if something happens to me, you're never getting married again because you've been in love once. And you'd be like, all right, let's get this money.
No, I didn't. Okay, so this is kind of off topic, but no, I did not say I would never get married again. I said and I've heard somebody else say this, right? It was probably on like a random reality show, right? Something that you should not take life lessons from. But it was good to get confirmation that I was the only one who thinks this way. First marriage is for love. The second marriage is for money, and not like in a gold digger way, but like, okay, you're settled, you're financially secure. I am. There are some things we can build together, so we're just gonna let that be the foundation for our relationship. So I did not say I wouldn't get married again. I said I wouldn't be looking to marry specifically for love again.
Okay, well, that makes you feel not any better, really, but well, hey, it's okay. But you know who's feeling better these days?
Who is that?
Not people that hate Colin Kaepernick.
No, they're feeling pretty bad.
And this was something that popped off over the weekend that was very surprising, and really interesting to me because it touches multiple American narratives right now. And I just don't even know where to start. So obviously we all know who Colin Kaepernick is and what he did a couple of years ago, where he basically sacrificed his NFL career and millions of dollars in order to become a symbol of protest and defiance for racial injustice and police brutality by at first sitting during the national anthem, and then, unbeknownst to many people, after having a dialogue with a former Green Beret or Marine or something.
Green Beret.
Excuse me. Decided he would kneel during the national anthem as a way of showing, of trying to express that his protest was not to disrespect or show disdain for the country and the armed forces, et cetera, et cetera. Yet, it became a huge ordeal. It became a great big controversy. There are a lot of people who are not watching football on both sides of the argument. There are plenty of people who are saying they're not watching football on both sides of the argument, but are actually watching it. There's been money lost by a lot of people. Papa John's took an L, and then Papa John himself got fired. Yada yada yada. Colin Kaepernick never played in the NFL last year, even though he definitely should have, and he is suing the NFL currently and is probably going to win this lawsuit because they colluded to keep him out of the league because nobody wanted to take the chance to take him. And then all of a sudden, Nike, that's another complex part of the story, announced him as the cover athlete for their newest Just Do It campaign. Every couple of years, or maybe every year, they make a big deal out of just, their stuff and the iconography of Nike and sport, and they put him on the front of it, and the commercial is bomb, and it makes you want to go play sports and buy Nike clothes.
Or dream bigger.
And, and
crazier.
Do it, and put my son back in football. Well, not back in football, but put my son in football, and just all kinds of shit. And yeah, so it's just a lot. It's just a lot of stuff. And I'll probably forget all the different angles I want to talk about this from. So I was going to say,
let's explore it from multiple angles. So let me say this: I am a fan of the new Nike campaign. I'm a fan of Colin Kaepernick. You said he was a symbol, and he really, really has become a symbol, a symbol for fighting against injustice. And the reason why I say that is because unlike most of the activists not just our time, but just of time, where, you know, they use the media in whatever format. So whether there was print media, you know, whether it was doing a interview on TV, whatever the case may be, they have taken every opportunity to speak about the issues closest to them and, you know, get some time, get some looks.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Kaepernick hasn't done that at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think people sit with that enough.
He hasn't talked to the media.
He has not. He has taken a vow and, you know, has shared with his inner circle and everybody who matters to him, who may talk on his behalf, that he will not do media interviews. That has been a conscious thing. Mm-hmm. He's not been on CNN or ESPN or, you know, once this really, really took off, he didn't want himself, like, he didn't want to distract or detract from what he was fighting for. Mm-hmm. And what he thought the attention needed to be given to. And I am just thoroughly, like, impressed by that. The level of discipline that takes, because his message has been twisted and like his character has been slandered, and not to come out and say, okay, yeah, this is what I believe in, but hold up, let me get you straight real quick. I think just shows a level of strength and conviction that we can all kind of benefit from emulating on some level. So that's one thing. So I'm a fan.
So,
however, let's talk about Nike as a brand, right?
Right.
So Colin Kaepernick, like you mentioned, is going through arbitration with the NFL. Just in case that's foreign to you, a lot of times when you are contractually bound to something, so like some jobs, right? I think the last time the word arbitration was being thrown around is some weeks ago when Omarosa was out and about talking about the president. Certain jobs require certain contracts, and to protect you and the person that you know, the job, the position, the organization that you are contractually bound to, they put a clause in that says, before you can sue me, we need to talk. Mm-hmm. And make sure that how you feel is really worthy of taking it through, litigation. And so he's in arbitration, and in arbitration, which sometimes involves like lawyers and, you know, and people like that. But in arbitration, the NFL was trying to get his claim dismissed so he wouldn't be able to move further with a lawsuit. And they failed. And that was announced just ahead of what was going on of this Nike campaign. And so I think that was strategic on Nike's part. They've retained Colin Kaepernick as a face, and as a signed talent, as a brand ambassador since, I believe, 2011, I learned.
Yes.
So they had retained him this whole time, making it impossible for him to do work with any other brand who would want to be on the right side of history, right? So in a way, he was locked in. Now, I don't know, you know, if Colin Kaepernick had any interest, since he's not trying to be like a media spokesperson or something. He may have not had interest in going to any other brand, but he couldn't because he was under a contract with Nike, from my understanding. Mm-hmm. And this campaign, while they probably been working on it for some time.
They're showing a commercial right now on
wow.
TV.
This campaign.
These niggas is wild, son. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This campaign, while probably like, you know, worked on for some time, I think it was very strategic for them to release it on the heels of him getting permission to move further with arbitration and possibly arrive at an official suit because of the collusion. Right. So, you know, so Nike's a brand, and they're smart, and it's cool as a brand to be on the right side of history, but I think we need not forget that they ran the numbers. Yeah. And they didn't do this before they thought things would roll out in their favor.
Yeah. But Nike is a billion-dollar global brand with, you know, a lot of blood and dirt on their hands. A lot of ways in which you should take issue with them. But they're also just fucking amazing marketers. Like this, as I'm watching this commercial again, I'm getting chills. It's such a good fucking commercial because it captures the essence of sport and why sport and like athletics has maintained such a significant space really throughout time and in every society. And it it does so in a way where you, even if you're the biggest racist, you got to look at it and be like, that shit's fucking inspiring. Like when it gets to the boy Shaquem Griffith, who's the guy with one arm or one hand, who's in the NFL right now. I mean, that's a powerful image. It's very convincing, and as humans, we are swayed by visuals. We're swayed by emotions, and our emotions definitely. Nike knows how to touch those things.
Yeah, brand. Campaigns such as this are so important to brands, even brands as established as Nike, because you can make a misstep in a campaign on in a national, possibly global. I'm not sure where this campaign, how the reach of this particular campaign, but you can make a misstep and it can totally.
You can be Papa John's.
Like, yes, you can be Papa John's. So it's important, and it's so funny how just like there can be a dog whistle for certain prejudices and biases people have in like political speeches or things of that nature. There can be the same can exist, if it makes sense, in a campaign. And so while we're celebrating Colin Kaepernick, Adidas, I think it is, I think there was an Adidas, to be fair to them, executive who made a statement saying they were trying to get Kaepernick on their team, going back to what I said about Nike keeping him on lock, right? So it's strategic on Nike's part. So Adidas has a campaign right now where they're making everything red, white, and blue. And I think that juxtaposed to the Nike stuff, and I don't know if it'll carry this way for Adidas, is almost like a latent sort of dog whistle. Like, I think that's if you want to make America great again, red,
buy
white,
Adidas.
Blue. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's really interesting how these things can go.
Yeah. So another thing of interest with that regard is of course, the social media response. So the Make America Great Again people are big mad at this, and I want to bring them up for a quick second. They're shrinking. Well, no, I don't know if they're shrinking. I don't know how many there ever were to begin with. I know there were definitely 50-something million that voted for Donald Trump. And I don't know what to think about those people to this day, except for bad things. But I tend to believe that most of them recognize they made a mistake. But the ones who are diehards don't recognize shit. They were out burning their freaking. They're burning their freaking Nikes. The last couple of days, somebody burned down their house. Another dude burned his shoes.
Oh man, I didn't hear that. Somebody that's great. Unfortunate for them.
And they're big mad, and that's all I want to say about them, because at this point with Colin Kaepernick, the facts have clearly outweighed the nonsense. And for those who are still, kind of running with this narrative about him hating America and advocating for police violence and whatever other nonsense they've came up with, I'm really done. Like, and you know me, I'm usually the one that will engage with people with different political ideologies until I get bored. But in this particular one, because it's so real and so serious, I'm like, you know what? Let's let them have their thing. Just go over there, burn your shoes. That's fine. Nike lost they lost 1% of their stock.
It was 2%, but Adidas was also down 2%.
Yeah, like.
So it may just be.
It's just the market.
Just a market fluctuation. Like, it doesn't necessarily represent any impact.
It might be because you're president.
Because the thing about it is, just for people who may have been thinking that this burning of things has impact. If you burn something you've already purchased, it doesn't
take away money.
Influence the valuation of the company. So that was just dumb.
Right.
I think people are prejudiced and racist and bigoted enough to make you uncomfortable. But it's usually in their minds done in efforts to make them more comfortable, and they're not going to do it to a level, most people, that make them uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
No, you got to do that one again.
Okay, so this is just my opinion. I think that, like, if you are straight racist or prejudiced or just like a flaming bigot,
which you pretty much have to be at this point to be still
True.
super anti-Kaepernick. Like,
you do it in efforts to make other people uncomfortable, right?
Okay.
You don't do it for your own discomfort.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so when you say they're shrinking, I hope they're shrinking, but I think that
maybe they're just
a lot of folks
up.
realize how stupid it would be to burn stuff and how it's not really necessary for their cause. Like, I can still vote in ways that negatively impact people of color. You know what I'm saying? I can still, in my private circles, call them names that I would be scared to say in public. I just don't have to burn my Nikes, right. Especially if I paid for it. So I don't know if you can look at the number of people burning things and say they're shrinking. I hope they are, but I think it's just a special sort of idiot who goes that far.
I'm using research concepts and just thinking about representative samples.
Okay.
And that, and this is something I think we as black people do a lot of. Is that we flood our social media with 15 idiots, really racist comments about X subject, and it becomes, look at all these people who are against us. And that may be right on some levels. Like, maybe that is solid representative sample indicators about who's really with us and who's not. However, I tend to believe that that's just not the case. I feel like a lot of these people that are burning their shoes are not representative of the, so this is not to say that white people in general are not still kind of doing max white people stuff around the country on a regular basis. I showed you a video today of police officers that pulled over a black boy and his white grandma because somebody said he was robbing her. So I'm not saying that is not happening. I'm saying that I am of the opinion that when you see these idiots, they're a vocal minority, very, very vocal at this point.
I agree that they're probably a minority. I saw an article today, maybe Newsweek, I don't know. That said, the majority of veterans stand, or military persons stand with Kaepernick.
Right.
But that wasn't, I don't know how I landed on the article, but it wasn't something that was shared throughout social media.
Right.
To your point, that a lot of times we screen grab one or two folks in a minority that are against us and make it
that becomes
seem,
a narrative.
Yeah.
And I may be, this is one of the things narrative. I argue with my brother about. Because to me, narratives are sometimes more important than the reality, because the narrative often defines the reality. And I don't know. I wasn't able to put that fully together then, and I can't quite now, but there's something to me removing the space that racist idiots can occupy in your daily consummation of media. And that's really the best way I can put it. Consumption. Consummation means having sex after you get married.
I don't think people are having sex in media.
Well, it's possible.
Maybe. No judgment.
Yeah, if you fucking your TV. I mean, whatever. It's 2018.
Do what makes you happy.
One last thing with Kaepernick that I wanted to touch on is, first off, I want to talk about how he's won.
He's won.
He won. This is a win. Like,
So
he
I
didn't
don't
win.
know.
Like, he didn't beat police brutality, of course, right? But I want to proclaim this as a victory for him and his movement and the movement in general.
So I get what you're saying. I think he would disagree.
Mm.
Because I think going back to why he doesn't speak and do interviews about how he feels about everything that has happened since he made the decision to, like you said, initially sit then kneel for the national anthem. I think that until we see justice be served,
Right.
and these police officers who abuse their authority and their power and the public trust be punished for those abuses, I don't think he would consider it a win.
Right.
So, it's nice to see people who do things for other people and commit to causes bigger than themselves and maybe take an L for that level of commitment, get something good to happen to
Yeah,
them,
I guess that's
right?
what I'm talking about.
So I get it on that level. So I would like to say he won, but I think he's just that committed to the cause that I don't know if he would say, the same. I think he was probably appreciative of Nike's support.
I guess my thing, I just know, I feel like he has truly moved the needle on this issue on a national scale. And because I'm very cynical, I feel the way about society in general that you often feel about Friends. And so, I know that it's hard to change public opinion without really things like what he did. You need cultural memes. So you know how a meme will change social media and change the way you communicate. I remember one time it hit me in high school that half of my humor was based off Beavis and Butthead.
That's sad.
All the things I thought were funny, the way I told jokes, based off Beavis and Butthead. And then in undergrad, I realized all the things I did that I thought were funny were based off Dave Chappelle. And as an adult, it was based off of Scrubs and Louis C.K. And as you're sitting here, and you're probably like, yeah, this all makes sense.
Yeah, it's sad, but it does.
And so I say that to say that the images we see and consume are influential. It kind of goes back to what I was just saying about narratives. And they influence us in ways we don't fully grasp, but often very slowly. And it takes a huge event or something that is iconic to a society to move everybody at once. And I think that's what he did. Now, he didn't solve police brutality. But he definitely, I don't think LeBron James is opening up a school, you know what I'm saying,
So
if Colin Kaepernick isn't kneeling.
Okay, so there you go. So I think he specifically moved the needle of consciousness in the African American athlete.
Definitely.
So I don't know, unfortunately, just based on convictions versus indictments versus just happenings with the police and people of color, I don't know if he moved the needle too much. I think the enemy won in that his most of the mainstream outlets, his name is not mentioned without disgrace of the flag and all that kind of stuff, and rarely in their pieces.
Or is that just Fox News and Tommy
No,
Lauren?
it's not. No, it's not Fox News. On liberal talking head shows, a lot of times, they will have full discussions about him and around him, and not really mention police brutality but have whole conversations about the military and respecting service and what patriotism is versus what nationalism is. Mm-hmm. So I think, unfortunately, we have a lot. I think he pushed us for it. I think we still have a lot.
But the enemy managed to
the enemy is still managing to do a pretty decent job of curving his message when his name is mentioned in mainstream media. However, I think what he did do, and it is invaluable, is tell black athletes and black entertainers that your voice can be so impactful, and you can be an image and a symbol of community and empowerment,
right,
and unity. You know what I'm saying? And covering each other.
You can do more than just get money.
So like so I do believe, like, maybe not actually, but I do believe like LeBron, I think LeBron is a great on the same level. So I'm slow to say like he wouldn't have opened his school, but I think there'll be other initiatives by other athletes that wouldn't have dreamed as crazy, referencing the Nike ad, if he wouldn't have taken a stand. I think that's the needle he moved.
Definitely. Well, he definitely, there's a W in there somewhere. It may not be the W.
Oh yeah.
But there's definitely a W involved in what's going on. One last interesting point to this is I wonder what that contract looks like, because Nike is not like, they've been controversial before. They supported Tiger Woods after his bullshit. They supported a couple of people with different acts and events that they've been a part of that are not the deal that you want to have, and so I just am interested, because he's so media precarious. He's very careful. I wonder like how many like protections he put in there to make sure that they weren't going to use him and then try to fuck him over. Like I think to the Killer Mike interview with the NRA, and of course Nike isn't as bad as the NRA, but like how
nobody's worse than Trump and black ministers.
Oh, is that even manipulation at this point?
I don't know, but I thought it was a good example of what you're talking about.
But you get my point. Like I know he had to be definitely wanting to make sure that nobody was going to, try to fuck him over, try to co-opt his message.
Oh, I'm sure he was thoughtful, because I think that's part of the reason why he doesn't do the interviews, because you can splice them and you can dice them and extract words and phrases and make it into something that it totally wasn't. Right. Context is not important when they have you on tape.
Right.
And so I think a person who's that aware would have had all the necessary conversations with Nike and anybody who was a decision maker around this campaign before filming, or before authorizing his image. So I think he's a really, really impressive guy. And I didn't pay attention to him early on in his career and didn't listen to the few interviews he gave early on in this movement before he kind of realized it and that he was a movement. He was more than a man. He was a movement, and kind of allowed his actions to speak louder than his words. I didn't follow. So I don't know the Colin Kaepernick of old, but I'll tell you, this current guy I'm impressed with.
So here's the one of the best parts of the story to me. A lot of this is tied to him meeting the right sister. A lot of the credit has went to. She's actually on.
She's not a sister. She's a so let me wait. So Nessa is a woman of color, and I like her.
Isn't she black? She just got like Indian in her or something.
No. She is a Latina.
Egyptian.
I think she's a Latina.
I just looked at it. She's Egyptian and Arabic.
I'm sorry. So wrong.
You
so wrong. I thought like so wrong.
You be policing bitches.
Ooh. Yeah, that was wrong. I thought she was Latina, and that was really
name
just
is
like
Nessa Diop.
I didn't know her last name. She goes by her first name. I haven't like followed her career, but she's been a media personality for a long time. And yeah, I don't know where I got that information. I was obviously
I can
wrong.
See why.
But she's not an African American woman, was what I was trying to say.
She's literally from Africa and in America.
No, she's not.
She's from Egypt. She's Egyptian.
Okay, so you did say Egyptian.
Yeah. I want you to just stop for a second. Just think about all the things you're doing wrong.
Okay, so I'm wrong. But see, you said I couldn't be. I wouldn't have done this. Now, if I wanted to be petty and be like the person you said I was, I would say that while Egypt is in Africa, and I do consider people who are Egyptian as Africans, and if they're in America, I think the African American description fits. However,
this is such a reach.
Let's not pretend that people in Egypt don't often divorce themselves from being Africans. Like, is that new to you?
No, that's not new. Of course.
Okay, so I'm just saying, like,
but
most
she clearly has not.
Egyptians,
so not most. Will
claim.
Most.
Well, not most, but some
North
Egyptians
divorce themselves from being black,
will claim,
especially if they're
more
brand new to the scene here.
Arabic heritage.
Yeah, North Africans.
Okay,
they
probably said that in a very politically incorrect way, but somebody understood.
Just incorrect way. Just incorrect as fuck, but
whatever.
But a lot of this can be tied to her, and it's just interesting to me. It's really interesting, just the modern black athlete. But I had a friend, because also there's a controversy of like, what do we do with black people that still watch the NFL? And I'm literally watching football right now as we do the show.
What do we do with black people?
Well, some folks, I don't quite understand it. Some folks, they're so woke they need naps. And to them it's very performative. How we as a people are supposed to act within the struggle. We're supposed to have a very specific and explicit presentation of our disapproval of our current state. And that means, being very rigid and letting everybody know about how, woke you are on a lot of levels and yada, yada, yada. I don't quite get it. I don't quite know. But somebody brought up to me that I thought was interesting that this isn't the first time this has happened. Sharif Abdul Mahmouf? I gotta look up his name. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't feel bad about my mistake. Because you literally gave this person a totally different name.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. No, Sharif Abdul Rahim is another basketball player from his same era. He did this back in the 90s.
Well, athletes there's a long line of athletes.
Yeah, the Olympians who
have taken
held
the
up the
stand.
black fist.
Yeah, so I mean, this is
know,
not new in that regard.
Yeah, so this is a glorious thing. And that came up in the conversation.
But let's go back to Nessa really quick, especially since I messed up her ethnicity and all that good stuff. Let me say, as African American, I don't know how she identifies, but she definitely is a woman of color, and she is definitely holding him down in an amazing way. Mm-hmm. So she has, talked about him and his feelings sometimes on the various platforms that she's featured on. She is a personality at Hot 97. She does a lot of digital content. I'm not sure, because I don't live in New York, if she actually is on the air. But yeah, she's just great. It's obvious she is a rock. It's obvious that she is equally as committed. Yeah. And so I don't want anybody to think that me quickly kind of cutting you off and drawing attention to the fact that she may not identify as straight African American. Mm-hmm. That was not to belittle her support and her dynamicism, because she is really doing the damn thing. And, for what it's worth, I'm a fan. So
what was the comment from the show? Light skin love is beautiful, something like that.
Oh gosh, don't want any parts of that.
Anyway, so last quick thing is let's just chop it up about DragonCon, and how the fam did this past weekend at Atlanta's DragonCon. So first, I guess I gotta mention to the fans that'll hear this, because you're hearing Married to Shade on a Friday. You're getting it on a Friday instead of a Wednesday, and part of that was planned. There was never really probably going to be a Married to Shade this week because of DragonCon, But we did initially think we were going to get a show out. But it's a lot of things went left right before us getting down here. Some of it out of our control because the people that ran DragonCon, the individual in particular who was over media relations, had like emergency surgery or something. So we didn't get any interviews. We usually bring you a load of content because we'll get 10 interviews and at least 5 or 6 of them will pop up. That's how we've done it the last couple of years. And we're very liked at DragonCon. Our name's starting to ring bells. But this year, the person who the name rung bells with was indisposed. And so a lot of the media relations at DragonCon did not come to fruition the way we thought. I don't know if you saw the Facebook Live that was done, but that interview did not materialize. And so, in general, we are sorry. I don't know what else to say. I'll let kind of Aaron address any further fallout, but I think that's pretty much it. It's just that, the way the chips fell with that did not fall on the side of us bringing as much content home as we had in the past. So, but that did allow me and you to fully enjoy DragonCon to a level that we hadn't before, because instead of me running the streets the entire weekend, meeting, nerd celebrities and doing interviews and meeting cosplayers, you got to actually come through on the busiest day and get a full taste, because you're not really a nerd. You're nerd adjacent because you've had children with me.
I don't know. I need to investigate that because I don't know how long you have to be down before you just get a car.
You're not. I don't know if you're down like
I'm
that.
down.
What's your fandom? You gotta have a fandom. That's a question.
I don't know if that's for. Is it a fandom?
Yeah, it's a question. Ask me what my fandom is.
What is your fandom?
Video games, movies, comics, anime.
So it's like, what are you into?
Yes. What are you into?
Cool stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I've been going to the con a long time ago. I've been going to the con for a long time.
It was your idea to go. The first year we went.
It really was. And I embraced it from the beginning. So, that counts for something. And it was really cool to go on Saturday, which, like you said, is the busiest day. And so what do you see? So if you haven't been to DragonCon, Saturday is the day of the parade. So we took our family to the parade. And without talking about our family, just know our kids had a good time. We always dress up. This year we were Sims. It was really cool. Sort of a low-key costume for us.
But really cool. One of our coolest costumes.
One of our coolest costumes, true. But for the last 2 years, because we do dress up every year, we've been dressing up since before we had our children. We've done, for us, pretty elaborate costumes. Key thing being for us, because cosplaying is like a sport. There are people who are super duper talented and amazingly creative. So I don't want you to think we're on that level.
Not at all.
But we do more involved things some years. And so Sims was not as involved because it didn't require really unique costumes. It just required the little plumb bob thing, some creativity and stuff like that. But it was super cool. Okay, so that's that. Go to the parade, and at the parade you see groups of people who have organizations or clubs, if you will, around their desire to cosplay. And so they will choose a theme or a look or something. Some of them do the same thing every year and their just numbers grow, but they'll do something as a collective, and then you just get to take it in. So this year there was the crew of Marriott carpet. And literally, if you've ever seen cheesy hotel carpet, everybody
There's
had
the code of Marriott carpet.
Yes. And
it was just them. And they were still it was like Spider-Man, except it wasn't Spider-Man's colors. It was Marriott.
It was
carpet.
Marriott carpet.
It was
Spider-Man.
Captain America, but instead of the shield being red, white, and blue, it was Marriott carpet.
So
and that's the fucking.
It's beautiful. The creativity is.
I saw a wedding between. I saw the Punisher get married to Chitara, and the wedding was officiated by Captain America. And they really got married, by the way. This is a real wedding.
Awesome. Right?
You know what I'm saying? It's fucking beautiful.
So Parade is filled with awesomeness. And then when you get into the con, and even like the hotels that host a lot of the people going to the con, it's amazing because you see these cosplayers who some just look like dead on for the various like characters that they're dressed as, and then just people who paid attention to every little detail, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe like you are twice the size of the character, or it's maybe there's a glaring
gender
difference,
swap,
between you and the character, but the detail is just so impressive, right? And the way you adapted it is just so amazing. So it is amazing. Now there's a Halloween element, I would call it, to it, meaning that like the joke for a lot of like adult young 20-something women for Halloween is you get to dress. I don't know if you guys heard this joke, but you get to dress like slutty and everything, and the excuse is it's Halloween, so you get like the really revealing maid costumes, or fairy costumes where like it's like a negligee or something like that, and so there are those people, and that was really interesting because since I had never been to the con on the busiest day, I had never seen
we saw
many.
like 4 people, women with
so
thongs
they were like
on.
like one woman just had like string wrapped around her.
Yeah.
And but she
don't
was
know
confident.
what character she was.
I don't even think she was a character. Because that's the thing too.
That was a special type of rope too. Now that I think about it,
it was just like rope or string wrapped around her. She was with a guy, and they were just like happy, and she was happy. So I'm like, cool, I'm happy for you. Mm-hmm. And there were several of those people, and some people who maybe like their costume could have called for some extra material, but they were like, I don't need it. It's just a really. But I say that with no judgment because I just love people embracing themselves and just embracing being different and just the con and the energy around the con, right?
You've always been a fan of.
So freaking accepting and positive.
Yeah.
Like no one criticizes costumes, whether yours is like really sophisticated, whether you're in cosplay at all, whether you're just in your jeans and you just want to stare at people and take pictures. Like it doesn't matter. You don't hear or feel any sort of negativity. Mm-hmm. Like I bumped in, so the con is like really, really crowded, right? So you can't help but bump into people. So I was bumping into people, and I'm just Southerner, so everybody, I'm like, I'm sorry, and like folks are just like, oh, it just all was packed in here, no worries. I mean, like even when it was hot and overcrowded, folks just had such a joy because they were just being able to do what they loved, and it was just like I said, just no judgment. Right. It was like we're all here to have fun, even if fun is hot and sweaty and uncomfortable
and maybe a little stinky. But what was the biggest takeaway from DragonCon, babe?
Seeing the people from Sesame Street?
Nope, wasn't it?
Biggest takeaway?
Yeah, the most significant moment of the entire day.
Most significant moment.
It happened later in the evening.
Day. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, that's fine.
I don't have it. What is it?
It was me showing my dominance in Tekken.
Oh yeah.
It's fine.
So,
we don't have to talk about
this
it.
is cool to say. It's not about you. It's cool to say that there's like a gaming zone at the con. So if you're a gamer and you've never been, and say you don't care about cosplay, you ain't dressing up, you don't care about seeing, Captain America, and it's not just Marvel people, but like anime characters and all these various adaptations of popular characters, and some not so popular. You can come just to game.
Yep.
So
games you probably never seen before.
If you don't know, yes. So a lot of games you've never seen before. They're all free. It's just like this big arcade. You just have to stand in line, depending on how crowded it is. Like you may wait, but if you don't know, Fiq Blurman's name rings bells in Tekken.
Rings some bells.
It does. Like it rings bells. Like even outside of the continental U.S.
Just
right?
a little bit.
So he's known. And he really should have competed because there are tournaments, whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And so he really should have competed. He did not compete. But, like, I got a real, like, proud of my man moment because, like,
and you don't get those too often.
I don't know if that's fair. But we're waiting, in line for him to play. And there's this one guy who is, like, kicking butt of everybody who's in line before us,
He had
right?
34 wins when I sat down.
And so they specifically put chairs in front of each like little like player station, but there aren't chairs for like the crowd. So if you're in line or you just want to watch the thing, you just have to like huddle and stand around, right?
Listen to this
but
shady
the guy
shit my wife
who
did.
is
Like,
beating people's behinds.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, because it just hit me how like funny this moment was.
Well,
in
I just
reality.
find joy. So maybe you had something.
No,
to
it was
you
great.
said, I'm petty.
I'm happy that you were able to
Because-
get that moment. I could give it to you.
So the guy who's beating everybody's behind, his girl is sitting behind him. She's not paying attention, but she's just comfortable and like nobody's gonna take her chair because her man is winning, and like nobody else has a chair, and she's just sitting there. He's sitting there. He beats somebody. They get up out of the other chair, and like it's just a rotating like door of people he's beating, right? And so Fiq sits down, she's sitting down, I'm standing up, right? Because there shouldn't be any extra chairs in the space. And like, you know, Fiq does what he does and he beats him. Like very easily. It took him a little second.
Not easily, no, he beat
well,
me
it
the
took you a
first
second
match.
to get like in the zone,
Yeah,
right?
it's a very different experience playing online and playing like live at arcade.
Yes. So once he gets in his pocket, he beats him and me. Because maybe I do suffer with pettiness. I don't know. Pray for me. I'm like, say out loud, right? Because, you know, the guy's shaking Fiq's hand, getting his control and everything like that. And I'm like, I'm going to sit where his girl was sitting. Because she had enjoyed the comfort of a seat as so many people stood up, right? To observe, to stand in line to play. Like, I don't know where she got this extra chair from. It should not have been there. But she was
But it
hella
wasn't hers
relaxed
no
and
more.
comfortable. Because she was like, I don't have to get up. My man's going to keep winning. So I'm going to just sit down. So I literally like stood there, and just as soon as she grabbed her bag, I was like, yeah, I'm going to sit where his girl was sitting. Like that girl who walked away with him because he lost. So that was kind of fun.
That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
I was so into trying to compete that I didn't even catch the bemusement that I should have caught from that moment.
I mean, you know, it wasn't nothing. It was like really.
It was cute though. We, you know,
She probably didn't
that
even
was
hear
some
me.
that was some just young ass fun
appreciated her
type
seat.
shit. You know, so that was great. That was great. Well, yeah, and that was DragonCon. Yeah, and that's pretty much the show. You know,
I think it
that's all
is.
we got. We a minute and 10. An hour and 10 minutes deep. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, y'all. Once again, I'm Fiq Blurman, and this has been Married to Shade. Is that how I end the show? How do I end our show?
I don't know. Good night.
You can find me you can find us at blackastronauts.podcast.com. blackastronauts@gmail.com is the email. You can find all of us on Twitter at blackastronauts on Twitter. You can find me at Fiq Blurman, FIQ_BLERDMAN on Twitter, the website. You can hit us up on Facebook. Black Astronauts Podcast Network is a group on Facebook, and pretty much a lot of any place else you would find podcasts and media and social media, you can find us. So please check us out. Thank you for your time, and yeah, baby, I love you very much.
I'm going to think about supporting that girl's business.
Oh,
All right.
oh, she came full circle. No, that shit cost too much. But peace, y'all.
Peace.